Morning, listeners. This is Bless Radio. It's Tuesday evening and it's just gone past 6 p.m. UK time. This is the Spiritual Discussion Program. I am Saad in Southeast London, and with me, as usual, is Gregory. As I say, this is a Spiritual Discussion Program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Uptrushin. And every week we have a topic for discussion. The topic tonight is common sense, intuition, and intellect. So as I said, I'm Saad. I'm in Southeast London. Right now it is dark and cold or chilly. And it's been chilly pretty much all day. And Gregory, you are with me as well. How is it where you are?
It's dark, cold, but
Okay.
still all right.
All right. Okay, good. So welcome, listeners, again. As I said, the topic for tonight is common sense, intuition, and intellect. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number one.com. And if you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. I'm going to begin with what is the Grail Message? The Grail Message in the Light of Truth by Uptrushin. Knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Uptrushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with seven seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace, if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, I just want to remind you the topic that we're discussing tonight is common sense, intuition, and intellect. Common sense, intuition, and intellect. Now, Gregory, you know I like to always check the meaning of the words in our topic in the dictionary. So tonight, the first words, well, I will break it up. I was going to do common sense as a one word, but let me just break it up, even if it sounds a bit funny. Um, yes, that's just so that we can see it. And the first word is common there. So common, it says occurring, found, or done often, prevalent. And they give an example of that. This is only the first meaning there in the dictionary. So it's the example they gave is salt and pepper are the two most common seasonings. So let me repeat the word meaning of the word common there: occurring, found, or done often, prevalent. What do you say about this meaning, Gregory?
The word prevalent seems to be a good pointer.
Okay, that's good. Let's continue. There's a second meaning given for the word common. It says shared by, coming from, or done by two or more people, groups, or things. So I'll repeat that: shared by, coming from, or done by two or more people, groups, or things. And again, they give an example: the two republics, common border. How good is this one, Gregory?
Again, these are qualifiers pointing to what common is.
Okay, that's good. Let's continue. So the next word is sense. And I will be looking at further this as a phrase together, but let's just look what sense says. So the meaning of sense, I've got again two meanings. The first one, a faculty by which the body perceives an external stimulus, one of the faculties of sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. What do you say on this one, Gregory?
That's a biological definition.
Okay, so it seems there's something more, but let's look at the second one. Let's say what it says there. The feeling, oh, sorry, a feeling that something is the case. Is that how good is this one now?
Again, it's a pointer, which is helpful.
Okay, okay. So there's good news. The meanings have been quite, like I say, helpful. So that's the good news. Now, Greg, I decided to, because the phrase is common sense, it didn't make any sense to just use separate them into only two words. Let's see what I found there. This is Google AI giving its answer to the meaning of the word common sense or phrase. Sound practical judgment based on a simple understanding of a situation or facts, essentially the basic level of reasoning and good judgment. most people should have in everyday life. It implies a reasonable and a sensible way of thinking without needing specialized knowledge. I'm going to repeat that correctly because quite a long word, quite a few words there. So this is the Google AI giving its meaning for common sense. Sound, practical judgment based on a simple understanding of a situation or facts. Essentially, the basic level of reasoning and good judgment most people should have in everyday life. It implies a reasonable and a sensible way of thinking without needing specialized knowledge. Is this a good one? Is that a good reflection, let me say, of this
That's
phrase?
more of a verb and an adverb. It is not a noun. Whereas that which the question asked for is a noun.
Okay.
Because you said, what is common sense? That what is more of a noun. And
Yes, but
whereas that which you have read out only qualifies it.
yes, but that's, let's say, what one answer. I understand that, but it's not. I want to get the sense of it because you're talking common sense. So uh, even if, let's say, slightly, um, the phrase is not, let's say, not identifying as a noun or as an adverb, I'm more keen on the actual definition. So that's more relevant, Gregory. So if you can just say if there's anything useful, let me say it that way.
Of course,
Yeah,
it's
that is
useful.
good. That is good, really, that we can
It
talk
is,
about it.
I won't say good, it is useful
Yes.
because these are qualifiers, and these qualifiers are pointers which one can use. So it is useful.
Yes, I thought so as well, because they're trying to, we have to build a picture about what we are talking about, and let's say this is a foundation that we're making, even if it's not 100%, let's say, covering everything. There's something like you say, pointer. So if it points the right way, that's good for our, like a foundation to start this discussion. Okay, so yes, that's a good news. Now we continue. So the next word, keyword in our topic is intuition. And here in the dictionary, I've got again two meanings. The first one, the ability to understand something instinctively without the need of conscious reasoning. What do you say of this one there, Gregory?
The word instinctively should be taken out
Right.
because from the framework of creation or from the laws of nature, that word instinctively will not apply. However, there is the word conscious, which has been thrown in.
Mm.
So you could see there are many pointers which one is looking at,
I
but
think,
at the same time, it's still helpful.
yes, I think if we substitute that word instinctively with something like automatic, I'll use this word automatic, but maybe that's not quite correct either. So if I replace this word just to say to the ability to understand something
Immediately.
immediately, that's even better. Yes, automatically doesn't give the really a proper picture. So immediately, yes. So I think when they say instinctively, it's without thinking. That's what I think they're trying to say. You're not.
Correct. That
Yeah,
is
so they don't
correct.
think, it just comes. Something just comes to you, and you just respond. You say it, or you understand it, whatever the way it is. So okay. Now, and they gave a phrase with that, a sentence with that, Gregory. So I would like to use that. It says, "We shall allow our intuition to guide us." I think that's a good sort of example.
Correct.
Okay. Now, there's another meaning in the dictionary for intuition, and that is a thing that one knows or considers likely from instinctive feeling rather than conscious reasoning.
It's more like the first one.
Hmm.
And so if we replace that instinctively with immediate,
Yes.
then it comes nearer to what intuition is.
Yeah. And I like there's a let's say, very key word, which is the thing that one knows or considers likely. So from, well, let's say instinctive feeling, we'll say immediately. So it's quite a high level of, how can I say, definition
Yeah,
than just simple reasoning. They're trying to distinguish it from reasoning, conscious
correct.
reasoning. So it's quite different from reasoning. When you put the word immediate, you wouldn't have time for reasoning there. So
Yeah.
that sort of gives a clue as well. So yeah, okay. So this is again. So that's a good one, isn't it, Gregory?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Okay. Let's continue. So the next one, the key word, sorry, the word in our topic is intellect. And I've got one meaning there from the dictionary. It says the faculty of reasoning objectively, especially with regard to abstract matters. What do you say to this one?
The faculty of reasoning is nearest to it.
Hmm.
Um, it doesn't have to be abstract matters.
Right.
It could be mere discussion. You reason doesn't have to be abstract. Abstract, which is something which is far away. In our discussions, when we you reflect over it before you provide an answer. And that's the way of thinking,
Mm.
and that thinking um, is the framework is of the intellect in the brain.
Thank you. And there's another part in that dictionary meaning. It says understanding objectively. So, that again, it's different from intuition because you're, it's like you're thinking about something, and you could say they use the word reason, it making it to understand. I mean, that's what you're saying. You need to give a reason why something's happening. It means you want to understand what is happening. So yeah, so this is
But
looks
one
good.
key thing which may be helpful is when one is referring to reasoning,
Hmm.
there is already a familiar framework that that individual is using. Like when you have a language, you there's the framework of the language, maybe your local dialects or the English language or whatever language it is, that is there. So you have to ensure that that's your reason must fall in within that. If it is outside of it, it will not make any sense. So there must be the framework of the language, which is already accepted, that is being used.
Okay, so yes, we need to be aware of this language or the framework that applies in this particular, you could say, world of intellect or reasoning. So yes, yes. Okay, so that's another point we need to consider or think about in our discussions. Okay, thank you for that. Now, I did some research again on common sense, and it says their practical application. It's about making sound decisions in everyday situations, not requiring expertise. So, common sense is considered something most people should possess without needing special training. So, Gregory, how about this part of the common sense, or this, you could say, yeah, when we apply common sense, that's what I can say. It's let me repeat. It says practical application. It's about making sound decisions in everyday situations, not requiring expertise. Common sense is considered something most people should possess without needing special training. So, is that a good, how can I say, analysis there?
Yes, it's good analysis, but the way it's understood, that is where the challenge is. Because you
Ah,
said without needing special training for any language, which is utilized, say, here on earth, you need special training. You have to learn the language of your parents. You have to learn the language of that you wish to use in communicating with others. But that where you don't need the special training is that which is intrinsic to every personality, and that you don't need any special training. That particular language, one maker might already be guessing what it is, and that's his intuition.
Okay, I'm trying to follow what you just said there about language, and the word language is quite general in a way.
Correct?
I'm almost feeling I need to look up what it means in the dictionary as well. Of course, we know what is language. We speak, let's say you and I, we are speaking in English now, so that is one language. But of course, when we use that word, and of course we know there are other languages in different countries and even within countries. So that's one way of seeing the language. Then there's another language which could be, well, we're talking about senses, aren't we? There's common sense in so. Gregory, can you just go a little bit further? Because I think you were talking, just if I heard you properly, you were mentioning intuition there as also as a language. Is that right? I just want to, if you can go further about language there.
The discussion basically is when intuition is mentioned, you find that this is not something which you learned. Why? Because you find that the language which we speak, like you rightly said, the English language, we have to learn the English language. Our parents' language, we have to learn our parents' language. So most of the things we do on the earthly, we have to learn them. But when intuition is concerned, we didn't have to learn intuition because it's intrinsic. It must have been a perception, a tool for perception, in quotes, which is intrinsic to the individual. So it's not something you are going to learn in the classroom because you wish to express yourself or learn to play with others. No, but it's intrinsic. So that's the intrinsic language of the personality, which intrinsic language is of spirit anyway. It's spiritual.
Thank you so much for that picture that you have painted there. I'm okay. I'm seeing it. I'm now understanding more what you're saying there. Yes, the language that we learn, like English, yes, it has to be learned. But the other one you mentioned, intuition, it's intrinsic. It's already with us. Which perception, our perception, and that also, Gregory, reminds me about our other five senses. Seeing, hearing, touching, smelling. I might have missed one of them out, and that one is also, you can say, intrinsic because it's just that part of your body. Having a body, you have these things, five senses automatically. So, and you don't need to learn that. How to use them. You see automatically, you hear automatically, you taste, smell. All of that is automatic.
But those ones are tools.
Okay, they are tools. Okay.
They are tools which nature has provided the individual.
I see. They're tools. Okay. And okay. All right. We're going to go further in this one. Right. Okay. Okay. I'm going to try and find some things to talk about on that in a moment. Let's see. So now the idea, Gregory, here is to understand situations in life. And we know we have this common sense, we know we have this intuition, and now let's even look at the intellect right away. Um, so intellect, Gregory, can one call that a sense as well, the intellect? Or let me just look what I said: faculty of reasoning and understanding objectively. That's what we looked in the dictionary: reasoning and understanding objectively. So that looks different from obviously intuition. Um, so maybe I should ask this. Okay, I'll start it straight away. Greg, are we meant to use this common sense, intuition, and intellect, all three of them, to understand a situation, that whatever we face in life, or is on occasion we use one or the other?
To provide an answer to such a question as you have posed, one must first have an overview of what the human personality is. The human personality that one is able to perceive of flesh and blood, that which is of flesh and blood has also one's intellect, which is the brain. That is what is perceivable externally. Deep within the human personality, I mean the human being of flesh and blood, is that which activates the body, which makes use of the body as an instrument. That in itself is of spirit. The spirit communicates with the body, or one will say the spirit communicates with the external individual. That means the representation, what we see, through the back brain. It sends an impression. That impression is referred to as the intuitive impression or intuitive perception. It is that which expresses itself in the back brain, which, when one's thoughts are calm and not overtly excited, is able to impress on one's brain, which has its effects on one's thoughts. The thoughts subsequently have an impact on one's behavior or one's deeds. So one can see that there are three parts of it: the intuition, the thoughts, and the deeds. Whenever there is harmony between these, then the activities externally, they are right. That is how the human personality should carry out its activities here on earth.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this answer, and again the picture you're painting for us with this, you could say, how a human being acts, and how these intuition, intuition, intellect, and and even common sense, you can say, work together. Um, you gave you actually said intuition, thoughts, and deeds. So there's these three um, activities that are uh, being, that working together. So we just have to be aware of this, how it operates, how the human being operates. So thank you for that. Dear listeners, I want to let you know you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing on the show tonight is common sense, intuition, and intellect. Common sense, intuition, and intellect. You can join in the discussions with any comments or questions by contacting us on our UK number. If you are in UK, the number is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. If you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Another way to contact us is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is blessradio1, that's the number one, .com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you will see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I mentioned, we are broadcasting on blessradio1, that's the number one.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box. Bless Radio 1, again the number one there, space, live stream. That is for our live show, which we broadcast on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can listen to a recording of this show the next day, again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box. Bless Radio 1, the number one again, space, Grail Message, space, the topic, which is tonight, common sense, intuition, and intellect. And of course, you can listen to the recordings of our previous shows again on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM / Bless Radio 1. That's the number one again. Gregory, so, we just started, you could say, looking at all these aspects, or not aspects, really trying to understand the concepts of what is common sense, intuition, and intellect, and how they actually work with us human beings. And I had started to ask you, how are we meant to use one at a time, like common sense at one situation, or intuition in another situation, and intellect in another situation? And then you told us that we just need to understand first, you could say, the process of these activities. Spirit being the, you could say, the the real living entity in us human beings, and that is communicating through intuition. And then, well, we human beings are living in this on the earth. We're not in a spiritual world, we are in this earthly world right now. So, and the spiritual world is not the world of matter, that's the earthly world. Which earthly world is it? So there, it needs, you could say, you can now understand the need for different forms of these activities because of where you are, where we are as human beings. So we need to use the body that we are living in on this earth. And so you mentioned that we also have thoughts, and then we have deeds as well. So you could say when we have a wish, um, for that wish to manifest, it has to go through a process. And now maybe I should ask that first. Now, Gregory, I should ask about this now. So is the intuition a wish, Gregory? Just to be clear about this. So does the intuition, so can I just, before that, let me just backtrack a little bit. So, um, you've talked about intuition, thoughts, and deeds. Does it follow from Gregory automatically from the intuition there becomes thoughts, come out thoughts, and then from the thoughts it comes out the deeds, the physical deeds? Or are these all separate activities?
These are separate occurrences. The intuition is separate from one's thoughts. One's thoughts is separate from one's deeds. As many may rightly know, you may be doing something which is perceptible to everyone, but your thoughts are in a completely different direction. So you could see one's thoughts is different from one's deeds. The same thing happens. One's intuition is different from one's thoughts. If, however, there is a harmonization between one's intuition to one's thoughts and one's thoughts to one's deeds, then there is the strengthening and there is the precision which makes things work faster and more precise and clearer.
Thank you for that. Now let me go to the next question I would like to ask you about wishes, our wishes or desires. Is there any connection with the intuition with our wishes and desires, or is it something separate?
Most of one's wishes and desires are intellectual, because with that which is of intuition, which arises from the spirit, it is what is beneficial to the spirit that emanates from it. When it comes to one's thoughts, many things which are not beneficial to the individual or which are not spiritually beneficial, many of these or some of it form one's wishes. Which wishes, if they are to manifest in deeds, will not be of benefit or will be counterproductive to the well-being of the individual. Most of the wishes and most of the wishes, the root lies within one's thoughts and doesn't go further. There are some that do emanate due to one's body. These are what one may refer to as animistic, or these are due to the needs of the body. Again, they are needs of the body of flesh and blood. So one should separate that which springs from the spirit, which is of spiritual benefit. One should separate that from the wishes which arise from one's thoughts, that is one's intellect, which, when accomplished, may not be of benefit to the spirit, but may end up tying down knots or making the spirit or producing knots in which the human personality is unable to release itself on time. More of this one when the individual examines the work in the light of truth. Clarity is thrown into all of this.
Thanks again, Gregory, for this again explanation and picture that you're painting for us. What I'm getting now is that there's the spirit, which we have said already, communicating through intuition, and that is beneficial for the spirit. Then there's these thoughts, which can be leaning to earthly things, which may not be beneficial to the spirit. And and then you had already mentioned earlier that if these intuition, thoughts, and deeds harmonize, then they will, you could say, have a powerful impact. If they don't harmonize, then you can imagine things don't follow through, and you can have an opposing thought then to your intuition, and even your deeds. You can do something opposing to your thoughts or even your intuition. So you can see how these things can vary in their outcome. And then you have mentioned about the thoughts, you could say, are connected with the intellect. So that is a different from intuition, for sure. So that's a different activity. And but the main thing I was picking up is one is spiritual, the other one is earthly. So I mean, the intuition is spiritual, and the thoughts, and you could say even the deeds. Let me go just start that again. So the intuition is spiritual, and then there's the intellect, which is connected with thoughts, and that is earthly. So this is quite some, how can I say, clarification in the process of how we see things. Now, let's proceed a bit further. What I want to do now, Gregory, just how we are supposed to do, let's say, in everyday life, because I say we have common sense, we have this intuition, and we have this intellect. And when we are in a particular situation, we want to, apply maybe all three of these abilities, if I can use that word, to look at a situation. So I'm thinking about that. So Gregory, if something happens to us, let's say we have some accident, illness, or something like that, and question might arise. Well, first question could be, what happened here? Is that I was being careless, or or did something wrong? You can say, or it was just something out of the blue, there's nothing you can do about it. So people ask this type of question, especially when bad things happen. Let's say like that. Okay, especially with, like, say, illness or accident. Now, so the question there, Gregory, is um, how do we start trying to understand the what is why something might have happened, something bad that has happened, accident or illness, like I say. Should we be analyzing it from the, you could say, with the intellect? So we have these three things: common sense, intuition, and intellect. Should we be analyzing it, this situation, through one particular way, approach, which is, let's say, either common sense, either intellect, or intuition, or all three, or some other combination?
Well, thanks for this particular question. Basically, that which is referred to as common sense, the attitude when that is used, it is referring to one's intuition. However, many do not have a picture of what intuition is or how it works. For some, there will be the rationalization of that particular event using one's brain. You try to think about it and put it in context. Many times there is no deeper reflection. And it is the deeper reflection or the silent deeper reflection that is helpful to the individual. In the scenario which you yourself just painted, if the individual wishes to be fair, first to himself, it would admit that there had been promptings to this individual which he could not articulate in a logical manner. But these promptings were there and were silently ignored. Only now that the scenario has manifested physically, in the case of illness or in the case of an accident, only now does it admit to itself that indeed there is a problem, that there were promptings which should have made it prepare itself or change the way it does things. That part was always ignored, even there had been silent warnings. So you have the scenario where the individual who has now suffered a misfortune of health or of an accident, now turning round to say, how should I have acted, or what do I need to do in this particular scenario? Simply, the individual must be more reticent, must be calm, must be reflective, must be intuitively aware. For every impression that strikes it is important. Whatever impression strike the individual or struck the individual yesterday or in the past, or that is just striking now, is helpful to that individual if it opens up and adjusts its response in such a way that the response will make it to open up such that it will resonate with the purpose for which these prompts, for which these impressions have struck it. What that means basically, it has to adjust its life in accordance with the laws of nature, the laws of creation, through which it came into existence. Why? Because these prompts, these impressions, reached it, the human personality, through these same laws of creation. So, if it becomes intellectually aware by continuous reflection in motion, then gradually its perception becomes more meaningful. The prompts which hits it is able to interpret it such that it can avoid those prompts which have not yet manifested because it has improved itself and is no more in resonance with that which is not of upbuilding, with that which will, in quotes, strike it like an accident or with some illness. So, as with everything, there is a gradual way that these things should be interpreted. The key here is as long as the human personality is able to make use of these simple prompts, these simple impressions in humility, many a thing, or in the process of doing that, it changes itself, it improves itself, such that some others which are yet to manifest may not even manifest and strike it in such a severe way. For there is continuous improvement. Many a thing that would have struck you because of your personal self-improvement will not strike you anymore because you do not resonate with such a vibration. What is stressed here is that the human personality must be vigilant, must be alert, must be awake, must be watchful. It is the watchfulness that is important. The watchfulness in deeds, these deeds which have precipitated, have manifested, the watchfulness of these deeds, the watchfulness of one's thoughts, and above all, the watchfulness of one's deeds. Now, one can understand clearly when Christ mentioned or used the expressions, watch and pray. Watchfulness, which calls for the alertness and the vigilance of one's intuition. And prayerfulness, which calls for making use of the impressions, the power of the impressions that have struck the human personality, making use of these in accordance with the laws of nature, which promotes upbuilding. So when the human personality is watchful and is prayerful in deeds and thoughts, many of the things which would have brought sorrow will become or will bring happiness because of its watchfulness.
Thanks so much, Gregory, for, how can I say, bringing out this aspect of intuition. And, it's not like a passive activity, is active even. Yes, you think, oh, I'm receiving something, to guide me or warn me. But you can also, how could I say, use it to protect yourself or direct, well, I say protect, direct it in a way that, like we said earlier, benefit you spiritually. So yes, you can have harm, you can have benefit, and it's you who is, I don't want to use the word controlling, but you are the person who can, let's say, lead the direction in a way, according to how you stand, let me say that way. So, so rather than having, you could say, being the victim, if I can say that way, of illness or accident, it can be prevented even before anything such of that happens because of your being, like you say, being watchful and alert. That attitude or way of being will protect you if you because you're being alert and watchful. So things don't just happen to you. You just walked into an accident or walked into an illness. No, the way you're standing, you cannot, I say, not control things, but things can only hit you according to how you're standing. But how much many of us are conscious of this type of activity, or that we have such, again, I don't want to use the word power, but we have abilities. And if you apply them in accordance, Gregory, as you've been talking about, with the laws of nature, then we can have the benefit rather than have the harm because of our neglect. So thank you for that. Dear listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message, by Uprushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE, age.com. And the topic of discussion tonight is common sense, intuition, and intellect. Common sense, intuition, and intellect. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. That's, of course, if you're in UK. If you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you the alternative way you can contact us is to go to the website where we are broadcasting. That is Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1.com. And there, if you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. You can type in any questions or comments there. And as I've said, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box. Bless Radio 1, the number 1 there again, space, live stream. That is for the live show, which we broadcast on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can listen to a recording of this show the next day, again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box. Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is common sense, intuition, and intellect. Of course, you can listen to the recordings of our previous shows as well, again on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM /Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, there's a lot we have said, and I like to always recap a bit as we go. So we've talked about the intuition, which comes from the spirit, which is the real living being that is in us human beings. And since we are on this earth, we have a body, and with this body we have a brain, and through that brain we have thoughts, and we can carry out deeds, because these are all activities in the world, the physical world of matter, while the spirit is not a matter at all. So, and this is how you could say our activities work together. However, intuition is quite a bit different from the intellect, because we have said it in our definition earlier. The intuition is basically immediate, and it's not. There's no reasoning involved in that, and it comes from the spirit. It's the communication through the spirit. And then I think, Greg, you've mentioned the process. So the intuition, for it to sort of work itself out, or even, well, actually, it's not on intuition. There's another activity which we haven't mentioned up to now, which is called volition, our will. Let's call it our will, and that is from the spirit as well. So for that to manifest on this earth, our will to manifest on this earth, we have to go through the spirit, and then, well, I don't want to give the location of the spirit in this moment, but just imagine there is a spirit being that is living in, that is where how we activate ourselves, and then is connected to this body, which is, let's say, through the brain. It sends its will into the back brain, and then that back brain transfers it to the frontal brain. Uh, but each of these processes, when it travels, it's forming into a different form. Like a picture, it turns into uh, um, more physical, let's call it, and then this is again transmitted from the brain to whatever we want to do, however we want to activate, which is, let's say, move our arm or whatever it is that we wish to do, or have an idea that we want to manifest. All of these things are physical, are turning into physical activities. So I'm jumping it a little bit, but this just we need to have this awareness, and the details of these processes are really to be found in through the Grail message, the reading of the Grail message, and understanding how it explains these processes. Um, Now, where do we want to go next? I would like to think on this one a bit more. Um, let's again look, try to understand these concepts of intuition, um, common sense, and intellect. These three concepts. Um, First question I have, Gregory: all of these processes, the common sense, the intuition, intellect, are they all logical? Because we have talked about the intellect being using reasoning, which is like thinking. The intuition is without reasoning, and it works like immediately, which is just like the voice of our spirit saying something, and so that doesn't seem to be having any reasonings in there. And then we have the common sense. I think, Greg, let's just clear this one up. The common sense. Did you say that was basically really intuition? Let's clear that first. It's just another way of
Yes.
calling. Right. So it's another way of phrase for the word intuition. Okay. Um, and in the dictionary it was saying without expertise, like let's say you get trained and educated in a particular field. Let's say you're a doctor, medical doctor or something, and then to understand a particular, let's say, disease, um, a doctor would have studied about that and be able to explain it you could say, in a medical scientific way, right? And a person who's not a doctor but still can have some sensing, you know that because let's say you are the person who's ill, and then yes, you're not a doctor, and yet something isn't right. Obviously it will manifest in a physical way somehow, that something, you're feeling ill or pain or something like that in a physical way, and then you might still have a clue where how this illness has come about, or what is the actual illness, you know without having to have the scientific or medical background in it or study in it. So I just want to understand, Gregory, these um, when we say common sense, which says without expertise, that's what we are saying, which is the same. We're referring that also as intuition. So, and so my question on that is, can one know something without having expertise in it? Because it sounds a bit difficult to understand that and the word logic comes into it as well. So are these intellect, intuition, and common sense, are they logical processes? And also, how can it be? Sorry, there are two questions here. How can
Sorry,
it be?
can we make it simple? Because
Yeah,
if they are all bunched up, then there's likely to be contradictions. That's why make it simple.
right. So, okay, the first part question is, are these processes, the intuition, intellect, and common sense, which you are saying is also intuition, are they working logically?
When that expression logically is used, basically it means consistent. Intuition is consistent, is self-consistent, and consistent with the laws, consistent with the spiritual laws. That which is referred to as one's thoughts is consistent or maybe logical with the laws which have been woven in through the language of the society, or basically the perception which the individual has developed. That is why you find that it's something which has been learned. So one's thoughts are then geared towards that way. Therefore, you find that the logic which the individual applies is something which has been learned. It does not come from within immediately. That which comes from within immediately, which is pointing to one's intuition, is consistent with the laws of the spiritual, but completely independent of the thoughts which we hold. It is our thoughts that have to adjust themselves to these impressions which strike us from time to time. Don't forget, when one is talking about one's thoughts, because the experiences of the individuals which are local to what it has picked up along the line, even if it's distorted, it holds it. And therefore, our thoughts are tied to the local language, maybe the language which we have learned from our parents, or learned from school, or learned from interaction with other people. So we have had to learn these things. Even the deeds which we try to accomplish, they are accomplished in such a way as to adjust themselves to the acknowledgement of what the society demands. The intuition is not so. And that's also you find many a time when it comes to the arts, many a composer in music didn't have to go to school to learn how to compose music. Although when it went to school, that also enhanced its abilities. That intrinsic ability was always there. Otherwise, you ask yourself, most of the musicians you have there, which school did they go to learn how to compose music, or to learn how to play the guitar or the violin, or to learn how to sing? That intrinsic ability must have been there. But subsequently, through practice, they are able to articulate themselves. But the key here is that talent must have been there. And that's what you find, that those who are in the arts, say the performing arts or in music or the fine arts, this springs from them and they just express it as different from those who, like in medicine, They have to spend many years in school learning to observe these external phenomena. So these things are different. Then, when one refers to one's states, again, these are to a large extent consistent with the expectations of the society. But there are situations where it violates the expectation of the society, and the impression which the individual has had is put across very simply. And that is why you find people of different abilities expressing themselves in music. Many a thing which have been apparent, an individual comes and puts it in a form which is easily recognizable. So you will find first that the intuition is independent of one's thoughts, but it is consistent with itself, consistent with the laws of creation or the laws of the spirit. One's thoughts is logical only within that which the individual has learned. However, should these thoughts be consistent with the impression from the spirit, then you'll find that these thoughts, many a time, violate the logic which is expected. And people will say this is not logical, albeit because they are using a different framework. They see things from a very myopic point of view. The same goes for one's deeds. There are many a time in our thoughts, as in music, when we express these thoughts, it doesn't seem to agree with what we are used to. All right, and we say it looks illogical. But subsequently, over time, ah, we say, it is, it's not illogical because we now have reorientated our way of thinking to the impressions which strike us. Whereas what is demanded of the human personality is motion, continuous motion, continuous weaving, continuous movement, adjusting to the spiritual laws. And it should be realized it is from the spirit, from the spiritual realm, the human personality or the human spirit gem set out to experience. As long as that is kept in mind and also realizes that just as he himself or herself is striving to become aware of the environment and subsequently self aware, which is self consciousness. That means cultivating, allowing the intrinsic values it holds within itself to come to maturity. So also are others. In that case, to speed up the maturity, it becomes apparent, one for all and all for one, because they have the same goal.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this answer. You've covered a lot there. We started with logical. If these intellect, intuition, and common sense are actually logical, but it's much more involved, because all of these are abilities and work in different ways and work together if you use it right. And each one has its own capacity or capabilities. You could say, according to as we say, the framework or the field that is active in. Um, you could say physical ability works in the physical, the spiritual works in the spiritual, uh, and then being human beings, we have the spiritual uh, personality living on this earth. Uh, and so we have the intuition there, which is a spiritual um, ability. And then to work on this earth, we need to use our body, where we have thoughts and deeds. And each one can only work in that particular field. Um, Intellect is physical, so it can only work in the physical field. And then, according to that world that it is active in, it has limitations according to that world. So, all these things that you can say logically, you can understand that. And then, when my second question was going to ask you about expertise, Gregory, because I was saying, oh, a doctor, he studied something, um, uh, like say the medicine, uh, that subject, and then others who have not, if they look at the same situation, you'll say, oh, the doctor has, in quotes, you'd think he has a better understanding of this particular medical issue, but it's not may not that may not be correct actually, because when you have intuition as well, even that intuition hasn't studied medicine as such, the person hasn't studied medicine, they can still have sense what is the problem or what is the issue in a particular scenario. So that's which may look surprising, because Gregory, we say if something happened, we are looking for evidence. Well, if you're looking only for physical evidence and you can't see that physical evidence, are you now stuck that you cannot go further? Well, no, because we have also the intuition, which doesn't need that physical evidence. It has a bigger way arena that it senses in, and so um, if you look in a, like you say, myopic way, you will miss the point or miss the proper understanding of how these things work. And I know some people made fun of this type of things. Oh, this is mumbo jumbo. The old days, in the ancient days, they were so-called witches. They were burnt to the stake because they said, no, this is all wrong and fantasy or whatever the word they used to abuse them. Uh, and yet they had talent, those witches. They could see something. Yes, they didn't have to study science or something, but they had their own skill. And you could say they were using their intuition. But unfortunately, because the general social world at the time didn't accept them, they were killed and murdered because of the, let's say, myopic thinking and view of the people who were ruling. So as I say, and people even in today's time, they will call it, oh, it's mumbo jumbo. But they're the ones who are calling it mumbo jumbo. Do they know what they're saying? They're only seeing only from the earthly, narrow-minded uh, point of view, not realizing there's a world beyond that, especially this world of the intuition, which is not really recognized. Um, so thank you for that um, answer there, Gregory. Um, Now, there's another angle, Gregory, opinions, because we all have opinions. And, well, we know opinions are not facts, but sometimes we think opinions or look at opinions, or maybe, when I say look at opinions, treat them as if they are facts. And that leads to disputes and lots of different issues, arguments, and so on. Um, and especially in this world of social media, people who have, you could say, power and their opinions, they express them through social media, and it has a lot of influence. Even we are seeing, without naming names, we are seeing it in the news regularly now, for some time. People with money and so on seem to have a lot of influence, or they have a big media platform through which they can, you could say, publicize their views, you know. So we see that. And even now, Gregory, we have this AI. I know I'm going through all different things now. There's this AI. People are making fake videos, fake stories, and so on. And they're so realistic that because there could be a real, let's say, speech. Somebody has made a speech, and then with this AI, they twist the speech, and it's making into some fake story, and that looks very real. You can't even tell if you think it is the real person talking, but actually it's been invented by someone. So where I'm going now, Eddie, sorry, Gregory, um, it seems this world that we live now, things are, let's say, in quotes with technology, there are advancements, and it's hard for us human beings to work out if something is true or fake or lie, you know. Um, so I wanted to ask you, are we able, with this common sense, which is also intuition, we say, and intellect, able to work out if something that we see or come across is true or not true?
Yes, with one's intuition, one is able to ascertain if what has been put out there, that means deeds, is genuine or not genuine. Because the capability or the capacity of the intuition is able to ascertain that. There will be features which one's intuition will communicate to the frontal brain or to the back brain and subsequently to the front brain for the intellect or for one's thoughts to observe and thereat make a decision. The sad part of it is that because the frontal brain is so excited, it produces thoughts which then block the impressions which have been communicated to the frontal brain. And therein lies the problem. But without any doubt, one's intuition, depending on one's maturity, is able to differentiate that which is genuine from that which is false.
Thanks very much, Gregory. I want to ask you more about this matter in a moment. Just before that, I want to let the listeners know that you're listening to Blessed Radio. This is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrushin. And if you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that: www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is common sense, intuition, and intellect. Common sense, intuition, and intellect. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number one, .com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I've said, we are broadcasting on blessradio1, the number one, .com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number one there, space, live stream. That is to listen to our live show, which is on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can also listen to a recording of this show the next day, again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number one again, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is common sense, intuition, and intellect. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows as well, again on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM / Bless Radio 1, again the number one there. Now, Gregory, we just talked about these, let's say, fake videos and stories, which even being generated even by AI now, which is so advanced that it can be something genuine that did happen, but then somebody's twisted it to turn it into something totally different. Even saying something, firstly is fake, and then maybe making up something which the person is not even agreeing with that. It's just a totally false one. So, and of course, I asked you, can we determine or distinguish which one is genuine and what is genuine and what is not genuine, what is fake? And you said yes, through the intuition, using the intuition. And I was wondering, and you even said there were some features when they make these fake things. Something doesn't, I see it sometimes when it's like, let's say a particular person that is in the news, and then in a way you sort of know what they say, and then somebody's made something, let's say, that could be true, but the person, let's say, hasn't said that, but they still made something up like that he could have said it. So it sounds true, but then there's these features, like you pointed to, Gregory, that something will say, let's say, within you, then you watch it or see it, then you say, oh, it doesn't quite look real, let's call it, that's the way I can put it. But you don't know exactly what is it that you could say, as I say, in detail, you wouldn't have the clue which part is, this is exactly the changes that have been made, but something telling you within you that this is not quite true. So there's some sort of fine way of sensing, Gregory, going on there. And you say it is with the intuition, and of course we know with the intuition works without reasoning, without thinking. So that means there's something special about intuition which doesn't work with when we use, let's say, our intellect, where we are thinking about it. That's the difference. um, so I'm wondering, so are we saying then, Gregory, the intuition is superior to the intellect, and it has a higher capacity uh, um, to to see to be able to see something which the intellect is not able to see? Um, is that what we are saying? Why the intellect cannot do it? Because intellect, like we say, it has to think and it has to maybe look at evidence. It needs to find evidence, but this intuition doesn't seem to need evidence. So is some let me first, the question I want to ask first, is the intuition superior to the intellect, and how is it, if that is the case? Yeah, let me start with that one. Is the intuition higher, intellect is higher or superior than the intellect?
The vibrations of the intuition are much, much finer, and therefore they are able to perceive on a broader and higher level than the vibrations of one's thoughts, which has its seats in the intellect. Therefore, the vibrations or one's intuitive perception are much, much superior than that of one's thoughts.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer. I just noticed somebody sent a question, a listener, but it looks like he said he's answered. You seem to have answered it. So let me just read it, because I just saw it now. It's just like I want to share it because the listener has put an effort to contact us. So the listener is saying, so what is it like in the great beyond when you no longer have the intellectual capacity and we are without the shield of the physical body? Are we at the mercy of our thoughts that may guide us upwards or downwards? How does one strive so that he may be protected from any darkness that may arise and assault him? And then in the next line is, you seem to have answered. So I don't remember that we went that far, but let me read it again, Gregory, and you can add, or if you like, or made a further comment if you like. So the question is, so what is it like in the great beyond when we no longer have the intellectual capacity and we are without the shield of the physical body? Are we at the mercy of our thoughts that may guide us upwards or downwards? Uh, how does one strive so that he may be protected from any darkness that may arise and assault him?
Thanks for that particular question. In the beyond, one has no physical body of flesh and blood. So the seat of one's thoughts, which is the intellect, does not exist. Therefore, that which is remaining is that of one's intuition. So our experiences are that comes through one's intuitions, in one's perceptions. And it is the returns that leads to one's maturity, which in the scenario that one wishes to ascend higher through one's intuitions, which intuitions are motions which have been triggered by the individual volition. It seems that, or it is that with motion in which there are two types, or whichever motion one may consider, are reducible to two basic types. The first type is that in which the end of the motion flows back to the beginning. Therein you have the reciprocal activity. If within that motion in which the end flows back to the beginning, if the volition is that in which it is good for ascent, then the response will elevate the individual because the intrinsic volition resonates with the laws of creation for ascent. In that case, one can already see, or one can already experience the attraction of homogeneity. As long as the human personality harbors that which is noble in its volition, that's in reciprocal activities, that's in attraction of homogeneity, that's through the effects of motion in creation will enable him to ascend. The other part of it, in which there is motion, in which the end does not flow back to the beginning, if the effect of that is to mediate to others, that volition which is helpful to others, then that being motion which sort of energizes it, there will be others that are more noble than himself or herself, who also mediate to the individual. In that pattern, the individual will receive that which is of upbuilding and therefore is able to ascend. If, however, the volition which has been sent out is not of upbuilding but for destruction, or is bad or ignoble, then the threads which are spun are darker and denser. That in itself will attract those of ignoble volition, the individual thereby sinks to that level where such as he himself or herself has put out, where it's able to experience it in full. Therefore, the individual sinks. So it is the volition behind what the individual sends out. For the power in creation always streams. The individual is like a lens or acts like a rudder using its free will, whether it wishes to ascend or to sink. There, the intellect does not exist.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer to the listener's question there. Um, it really covered a lot there. Um, so thank you for that. Now, just again thinking of this world of the social media that is very, I was going to use the word common, but active, you can say, in the world today's world, and has a lot of influence on people, especially young, and uh, and let's say the we've already pointed out how with the intuition we can work out if something is genuine or not. Now, I'm thinking that if Gregory, as I said, this world where, let's say, materialistic world that we live in with money and power, being people seeking this type of, they're seeking that a lot, let's say, and those who have it, they can really influence a lot of people. So what I want to ask there is, and if let's say there's amongst this in this world we have the truth and this falsehood as well, and it seems, or opinions, let me call it opinions as well, so truth, falsehood, and opinions, so that is a bit of neutral word. Can one let's and the point I want to make here, Gregory, is that those who are there's a whole world of opinions in this world of this. There's also truth, and then there's this falsehood as well going on. Does it mean that the ones who have the power and money are able to win out? Let me say like that, with that influence that they have in terms of getting their message across and whatever they want to do, their agenda might be, or can which might be detrimental and harmful, let's say that way, it may be, uh, and then which and rather than the truth, which is meant to benefit us all, so we are talking about, for example, when it's concerned with the truth, we have this intuition, which is the true ability, which can guide us and benefit us, and let's say that is not so well known compared to, let's say, science and other uh, ideas, let me say, which can be, so science we know can't explain everything. It can explain, I'm not trying to say that everything is bad out there, but there is bad out there, there's good out there, but there are things which are, let's say, more important and more helpful, or beneficial, but that which is helpful may not be either well known or, in quotes, not having so much influence. So, can the truth win out over the other, let's say, less important things? I'll say it like this.
That which is in itself true is or was right yesterday, is right today, and also right tomorrow. So the truth in itself does not change, even in its forms. That is what makes it true. So any individual who strives after that which is true or that which is the truth strives for that which is eternal. That which is false is such that is anathema to the truth. That which is false is genuinely not the truth. So one can find there's a difference there. And therefore, it will only be temporal for the motions, the power which produces motion, which is consistent with the truth, subsequently will sweep away that which is not genuine and that which is false. Therefore, the questions of all this temporal behavior, where people have influence over others, what must be stated is that these influence only holds upon those people who themselves are too spiritually indolent to examine the scenarios. As long as the human personality exercises its power of intuition, that means allow the intuition to make its impressions and its effects visible, noticeable. The environment of such an individual brightens up and is able to recognize something even before it takes roots and becomes physically visible. So that individual who is spiritually alert has already perceived where things are going and therefore can make preparations to avoid that which is unpleasant or to minimize that which is not of benefit to it, even if it has to go through many challenges. So most of these things which are not genuine, which are false, they are only temporal. And those who, in their activities, bind themselves to that which is false or temporal, because of the temporal nature of these activities, they themselves will be drawn along to experience the painful disintegration of this things which are temporal. And if they are not spiritually watchful enough, that which they themselves have cultivated as structures, which structures again will be temporal, these structures will be disintegrated, in which they are drawn along to such disintegration to its primeval facts, basically losing the consciousness which they themselves had cultivated, or the self-consciousness, the quality of the self-consciousness they have cultivated, and may then return to their origin as unconscious spirit sparks, the way they had departed. What should not be forgotten is that these sparks set out towards this world of matter to become conscious and subsequently self-conscious in the upbuilding of their innate ability, not having used it aright. They are returning back to their origin as unconscious spirit gems. So all the efforts, all the preparations that creation has made for it, for these personalities or for these gems, it has been in vain.
Thanks again, Gregory, for this answer you've given, and really clarifying, you could say, how truth stands, you could say, above all other forms of, that exists, and it's, as you can say, call it eternal, not changeable, unlike other things which are changeable and not eternal. So thank you for that. Now, dear listeners, we've come to the end of the show tonight. Hope you've enjoyed our discussion on common sense, intuition, and intellect. I'd like to finish the show with the reading from the Grail Message, as usual, from the foreword, which is titled For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path, as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore, awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you're truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Uprishin. Dear listeners, if you want to get a copy of the Grail Message or want to get more information on the Grail Message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that: www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing listeners a beautiful week ahead.
Thank you. Same from me, listeners. Have a beautiful week ahead. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time, with another topic for discussion. Good night and God bless. Bye.